Welcome to the Sunday Word with Minister Anthony Smith on a Tuesday. Hope you had a safe Memorial Day. Hope you remembered your loved ones, decorated the graves. And I know a lot of memorial is centered around the veterans who served this country, and I dare not take that lightly. I know I've had some uncles that served this country, so God rest their souls. We salute them. And we also salute those who served this country who are still living amongst us. I know for a fact my cousin Walter Clark, I want to shout his name out. My other cousin Chris Moore. One was in the Army, one was in the Navy, so we got the Army versus Navy rivalry going on there. But more importantly, I also want to pay homage to those who paved the way on a personal level for me still being here, such as my parents and a lady who we just recently lost on this side, who has spread her wings. Her name is Shirley Jones. Got the call on Sunday that she had passed away, and yes, it did strike me a little bit. She was one of the ones who I could say actually knew me just as well as my parents. And she had the respect as if she was a parent, because she had all rights and privileges to discipline me as deemed necessary, which is something that today's generation, I can honestly say on a scale, knows nothing of the discipline that we went through. And it's something that they also missed out on. We're not going to be long, but we are going to look at the topic, what manner of man is the prophet? Now, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest out of the womb, I sanctified thee. I have appointed thee a prophet unto the nations. We're going to look at, with the time that we have, what manner of man is the prophet. In the long struggle of the Hebrews to be a people pleasing to God, the prophets, for the most part, appeared in times of crisis as models of what God wanted his people to be. As God's spokesman for many centuries, they sounded warnings and gave direction to their nation. In our English Bible, we have 16 books that record the words and deeds of the writing prophets. Other great prophets in Israel were non-writing prophets. They did not write prophetic books. The greatest of these were Moses, Samuel, Elijah, Elisha. Upon the sole basis of length, the books bearing the names of the writing prophets are classified as major and minor, with Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel called major prophets, and the other 12 called minor prophets. The term minor in regard to these 12 books is unfortunate, for there is nothing minor about them. The 12 together cover the whole range of prophecy and illustrate its development from the 8th to the 4th century. So what we're going to do, we're going to first consider what a prophet is not. A prophet is not a microphone through which God speaks, bypassing the prophet's mind, will, emotions, character, and convictions. Inspiration is not merely mechanical. Revelation does not take place in a vacuum, ignoring the context of history in which the prophet lives and serves. A prophet is not a superhuman being. He does not have near supernatural powers. The prophet is unique but still human. Moses, Samuel, Elijah, Elisha, Jonah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel were indeed human beings with certain faults and frailties, despite their unquestioned greatness. James said of one considered by most Hebrews in Jesus' day to be the greatest of the prophets. Elijah was a human being even as we are. Thank God for that word. A prophet is not a windbag, Jeremiah said of certain pretenders among his contemporaries. The prophets are but wind, Jeremiah 5:13. There are many varieties of windbags. For some, the emptiness of their prophecy does not come from the betrayal of their faith. Instead, it comes from their failure to have any faith worth proclaiming. Secondly, often people might have been prophets, or even who had been prophets become windbags just through the process of taking on administrative responsibilities. This is one of the perils of an ecclesiastical hierarchy, forced to talk unceasingly and feeling the necessity of judicious utterance on all occasions. They fall back on wind. Wind is easier and safer than ideas. Sometimes, on a far lower scale, morally, false prophets become mere echoes of their employers' ideas and desires. This is the bottom rung on the ladder. Isaiah charged that the people of his day did not desire true prophets, but windbags. They requested prophecy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophecy deceits. Isaiah 30:10 in the ASV. Let every minister ask himself, am I God's prophet or am I a windbag? A prophet is not a wolf in sheep's clothing. Jesus warned us against these masquerading as prophets. Part of God's flock when inwardly they are ferocious wolves. Matthew 7:15 in the NIV. Enemies within the Christian community when so many pretenders are predicting peace and prosperity, offering cheerful words, adding strength to self-reliance, and bolstering human pride. The true prophet may be called on to predict disaster, agony, pestilence, and destruction. Thus, a prophet's life is uncomfortable. So what I'm going to do right there is I'm going to pause and take a break. And when I come back, we're going to look at what a prophet is. So stay tuned to the Sunday Word with Minister Anthony Smith. We're coming to you on a Tuesday evening to get you this word out and let this word be a blessing. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sunday Word, and we're doing this on a Tuesday evening. Praying that once again that you had a safe Memorial Day as you remembered your loved ones who have gone on before us. You went out to the cemetery, you decorated the graves, you may have even given a speech, or you just reflected on those who had an impact on your life. Whatever you did, I hope you did it and hope you were safe doing what you did. I was very fortunate to go out to the cemetery with my wife as we decorated my parents' grave. Then later on, I was able to went to my daughter's place, got to see my grandkids, and took my daughter and my granddaughter to decorating my parents' grave, took photos. So we had a very productive moment, one to cherish. Anytime you can have those moments with your kid, your child, and your grandchildren, it's always a special moment. And we took in the moment and remembered my parents as well too. So in that first segment, we looked at what a prophet is not. Just the quick bullet points is: a prophet is not a microphone. A prophet is not a superhuman being. A prophet is not a windbag. And a prophet is not a wolf in sheep's clothing. So now we're going to consider what a prophet is. A prophet is one whom God has called and commissioned. God told Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to nations." Isaiah 1 and 5. In recounting his call, Amos said in substance, "The Lord took me, told me, and sent me." Amos 7 and 15. We do not have a record of the call of all the prophets, but of those we do have, no two are the same. A prophet is a distinct individual endowed with a mission and empowered with a word not his own. His divine commission is his authority. A prophet is a preacher. He is not primarily a foreteller, but a forth-teller. Although sometimes used of God to foretell impending catastrophes or to promise future blessings and reward, this is only one part of his work. The prophet is God's spokesperson. He is a preacher whose purpose is not self-gratification or self-expression, but communication. His message burns like fire. It assaults the mind and sears the spirit. Prophecy is the voice of God, is the voice that God has lent to the silent agony, a voice to the plundered poor, to the profaned riches of the world. It is a form of living, a crossing point of God and man. God is raging in the prophet's words. Abraham J. Herschel. The Prophets, New York, Harper and Row, 1962. The prophet's message differed sharply from the tellers of oracles of the pagan gods. The pagan god would let enemies destroy his shrine or conquer those who worship him would commit suicide. Incredibly, Israel's prophets proclaimed that the enemy may be God's instrument in history. For example, the God of Israel referred to the arch enemies of his people as the Assyrian, the rod of my anger, Isaiah 10 and 5. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, Jeremiah 25 and 9, and the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation whom he would raise up, Habakkuk 1 and 6. Instead of cursing the enemy, the prophets condemned their own nation. A prophet is a mediator. He is not only a censorer and accuser, but also a defender and counselor. In the presence of God, he takes the part of the people. Moses pleaded with God, "Oh, what a great sin these people have committed. But now, please forgive their sin. But if not, then blot me out of the book you have written." Exodus 32, verses 31 and 32. In response to the vision of locusts, Amos said to God, "Sovereign God, forgive. How can Jacob survive? He is so small," Amos 7 and 2. But in the presence of the people, he took the part of God. From this point of view, it is the main vocation of a prophet to declare unto Jacob his transgressions and to Israel his sin, Micah 3 and 8, to let the people know that it is an evil thing and bitter to forsake the Lord, Jeremiah 2 and 19, and to call on them to return. A prophet is often the object of scorn and reproach. To be a prophet means to challenge and to defy the defenders of the status quo. the powers that be, and to cast out fear. The prophet is a lonely man. He alienates the wicked as well as the good, the judges and the false prophets, the priests and the princes, the cynics as well as the believers. He may count on being treated as Hosea was. The prophet is considered a fool, the inspired person a maniac, Hosea 9:7. They said of Jesus, he is beside himself, Mark 3:22. Paul's accuser said, Paul, thou art mad, Acts 26:24. Let God's prophets take courage, for the epithet, fools for Christ's sake, 1 Corinthians 4:10, is a badge of honor. And lastly, a prophet is the conscience of his nation. His life is not futile. Though the people may remain deaf to the prophet's admonitions, they cannot ignore his existence, nor can they forget his words. The prophet's duty is to speak God's word to the people, whether they hear or refuse to hear. Zedekiah, Judea's last king, had not treated the great prophet Jeremiah with the kindness and respect he deserved. Yet God's message through his prophet had lodged in his heart to challenge his conscience. When the city was surrounded, the fighting man, discouraged and exhausted, and the food almost gone, Zedekiah sent for Jeremiah secretly to ask, is there any word from the Lord? Jeremiah 37:17. Centuries later, when God himself walked the earth in the person of his son, some of God's own people thought him to be Jeremiah, Matthew 16:14. This prophet's mark on a nation's conscience had survived the centuries. Conclusion: no series of sermons could be more relevant or more fascinating than one on the Hebrew prophets. As people thought in the 8th through the 4th centuries BC, so they think now. Indeed, yesterday's prophets are for today's world. Well, this has been another edition of the Sunday Word with Minister Anthony Smith. Hope you have enjoyed it. I will return back on my next episode with the ministry moments from Maria, as I find it to be a blessing not only to myself, but also find it to be a blessing to others as well too. Just wanted to get the word out to you today. I know it's on a Tuesday and we're a couple of days behind, but like I said, we kind of got caught up with the holidays as I was able to enjoy a family reunion on my wife's side of the family. It was enjoyable. It was a blessing. It was entertaining. They got me to haul my equipment out. Yeah. But it was well worth it. Got to meet some new kin folks. And I'll tell you right now, there's some very talented people in that family. There's a young lady. All I'm going to tell you, I know her name starts with the L, but she is multi-talented on multiple instruments. So I pray that by the grace of God that she develops her musical craft and play to the glory of God. To the other musicians in the family, I hope and pray that we get together and just have us a hallelujah musician good time. But it was a good reunion, and it's been a while since I've been to a reunion because ever since COVID shut things down, even on my side, we haven't gotten one together, but I feel that someday we will get one. But to my wife, I'm very blessed to have and blessed to be in a good family. It reminds me of my own family. So can't say no more than what I just said. So like I said, have a good time with the family. Once again, keep the Jones family in prayer as I said, the passing of Sister Shirley Jones, who was like another mother as well. To the Jones family, keep your head up. We're praying for you. Until the next time, take care of yourself and each other. God bless you, and I am out of here.